The future of work or modern businesses, especially the ones that care, they are all relying on people, is that you have to put your people first. And it's not just a statement, you have to walk the talk. You have to really have the right teams and the right management education on how to do it. If somebody's going on crying because the manager is beating them down, this is a toxic environment that managers, HR, C-level, CEO, they have to know about it.
This episode of Leading the Future of Work is sponsored by HiBob. If you're stuck in a rut with all this new world of work, quiet quitting, remote work, talent retention stuff, then you've got to meet Bob. Bob is a modern HR platform from HiBob that is built for the way companies need to work today. It's simple and intuitive. You can customize, automate, and create workflows for onboarding in a click. And there's more. If you are a multinational global company, you can also customize just about anything, including calendars, holidays, currency, and regulations. Connect with HiBob and see what Bob can do for your company. They also created a free guide to bridge the global gap and adapt to the modern world, which covers using the right technology, inclusivity, and using modern HR tools. You can get access to this free guide at hibob.com/FOW. Again, that's www.hibob.com/FOW. Hey everyone, my guest today is Ronni Zehavi. He is the co-founder and CEO at HiBob. Ronni, thank you for joining me.
Hey, how are you, Jacob?
Good. I'm sure the first question that probably everyone has is, what's up with the name of the company? Why is it called HiBob? Why is the name of the platform Bob? And can you give a little bit of context around what you guys do?
Sure. So as you said, the name of the company is HiBob. The name of the platform is Bob. Was named as a human name. The company was founded 7 years ago. Actually, exactly 7 years ago. We operate all over the globe. We have offices in Sydney, Australia, in Israel, in Berlin, in Amsterdam, in Lisbon, in London, New York. About 700 people. I think to make it clear, it's HiBob is on a mission to transform how people in organizations operate in the modern world of work. Obviously, there's a lot of things happening around us.
Yep.
When we founded the business 7 years ago, Jacob, we thought that it will be the generation transformation. So the fact that new generation will dominate workplace. And this is how we designed the platform. And then the pandemic accelerated the change.
Yep.
And I think today we all understand that it's only the beginning of a new era.
Yeah, no, couldn't agree more. Well, before we start talking about some of the business stuff, let's talk a little bit about you first, because you have a pretty interesting background. Were you raised and did you grow up in Israel?
Yes. I grew up in Israel and went to the army like everybody in Israel. I was an intelligence officer. And unlike many other tech entrepreneurs in Israel, I didn't come with engineering background, and I did not graduate 8200, the engineering unit in Israel in the army. I actually studied history in Tel Aviv University, and then I did my master's in organizational psychology. And I did not have any intention to be entrepreneur. I'm actually in tech by mistake.
It's
But
funny how that
like many
happens.
other stories, I applied for a job. It was 1997, last century. Uh, Believe it or not, it was an HR position, and this is how I got into tech. Then
Hmm.
I built a company. I was part of a company, not as a founder, in a web-based email back in the late 90s and the beginning of 2000. I did every positions from SDR, BDR, all the way up to VP Sales and BizDev. And then I co-founded another company called Cotendo in the CDN space, Content Delivery Network. It was a fantastic journey. Between the time we signed the investment agreement until the company exited, it was less than 3.5 years. Raised
Hmm.
money from Sequoia, from Benchmark, Tenaya Capital, and then I relocated with my family to the Silicon Valley. Then the Cotender was acquired by Akamai
Oh, very
um,
cool.
for a 300 million. It was in 2012. Then I spent another 2 years with Akamai. Then I co-founded Teammate in cybersecurity and decided to leave cybersecurity. And before that, with Akamai, I ran the security business unit. And as mentioned, 7 years ago, I decided to build HiBob
Wow.
in this space in HR tech.
It's quite a journey. I'm actually really curious about your time when you were working in the Israeli military. So you said you were an intelligence officer. So can you share a little bit more about what you did, and did that have an influence at all on your approach to leadership or business or life in any way?
Well, of course, I cannot share about my job in the army for obvious reasons, but I think for any Israeli, it doesn't matter where you serve. I think the fact that when you are 18 years old, you get to the army, they train you, and within months, you basically take on your shoulders a position as a combat soldier or whatever you do, and it gives a lot of self confidence.
Yeah.
Um, I think the Israeli army DNA is don't be afraid to fail.
Yeah.
It's okay to fail. You can do it again. It's about teamwork. It's about transparency. I think all those values that you get when you are 18 or 19 years old stays with you when you're growing, and it gives you a lot of a level of confidence and maturity. If I need to compare an Israeli who is 20, 21 years old, just graduating from the army, to any other a 20 or 21 years old colleague out of Israel, I think in terms of experience, you get something that is very unique for the Israeli culture. And I think one of the reasons why Israel is one of the most innovative geographies in terms of innovation and tech innovation, I think it's related
Hmm.
to what I just mentioned.
Was it scary to join the army at such a young age? Or did it teach you anything about how to overcome fear, and how to deal with it?
Um, Not scary. I mean, for us, it's part of life.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's part of the culture. You can I mean, there are two ways to look into it. I think many Israelis would agree with me that you kind of survive versus live in Israel. Obviously, we all want to live and not to survive, but it is unfortunate, the situation.
Yeah.
And when you're surviving, then you have other you build or you adapt other characteristics that I think is very relevant for business
Yeah.
and for entrepreneurship in general.
Yeah, yeah, no, I can very much relate to that because and I think we talked about this before. I have immigrant parents who came from the former USSR, and their whole story growing up and being Jewish and running away from Russia and being persecuted was always a story just about trying to survive. And it wasn't until they ended up leaving Russia where they finally given a chance to actually live. So I can very, very much relate to that story. But it also created, at least for me personally, it created, I think, a certain amount of it's a different mindset. And I think a lot of people who come from immigrant families and immigrant parents can relate to that immigrant mindset of being scrappy, trying to come up with ideas, not being told no. It's a different way to, I think, live and approach business. So it's interesting because you can turn what a lot of people might consider a negative and channel it into being something positive as far as how you create, how you build, and how you lead. So very, very much relate to that.
And I 100% agree with you. I think Israel was founded 74 years ago, and it was built around immigrants.
Hmm.
So being an immigrant in Israel is the foundation of society. Keep people moved to Israel before 1948 from Europe and from North America, and then after the state of Israel was founded in the early 50s, they were forced to immigrate to Israel from
Hmm.
Northern Africa and the Middle East, and of course from the Holocaust survivors from Europe, and it creates a different DNA. Bear in mind that it's a very small country. The geographic size is as big as New Jersey as a state in
Yeah.
the U.S.,
Yeah, it's
and
tiny.
the population is about 9 million. So it's relatively small.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's a tiny place with a big impact. So from there, I mean, how did you end up? I mean, obviously you created this company, HiBob. What was the reason for it? I mean, were you seeing certain changes and trends in the business world that made you take a step back and say that, the way things are happening now just doesn't work and doesn't make sense and there's got to be a better way?
Yes. So about a year before I founded the company, I was entrepreneur in residence with Bessemer,
Okay.
uh, Bessemer Venture Partners. And I recommend this position. It's fantastic job. You basically sit for a few months and you listen to great stories and great entrepreneurs with their ideas. They inspire you again and again of how attractive it is to be entrepreneur, and then you tend to forget how difficult it is.
And
And
it's very
as,
difficult.
as humans, you really forget the downs. Everything looks to you very shiny. And when I decided to found the company, I really want to build something big. I was really interested in looking to a market that is big enough, and there are, I would say, basic stuff that are legacy or old school that can be disrupted.
Yeah.
And this space is amazing. I and we as a team did a lot of mistakes at the beginning. For example, uh, we really underestimated how complex it is to build a human capital management platform.
Hmm.
As an outsider, you think it's what's the big deal? You
Yeah,
clock
yeah.
in, you out an employee record, and that's it. But it's one of the most complex platform to build. So on one way, the fact that you are naive and you have no kind of hesitations help you jump into the cold water. On the other hand, you really have to adjust yourself very quickly to the reality, and the reality is not easy. But it's a fantastic market to be in. And to your question about the opportunity, usually when you think about tech businesses, if I need to simplify it to one simple sentence, I would say it's all about problem solving.
Yeah.
So you need to identify a problem, something that is not working or used to work before, and now it's no longer relevant. And the bigger the problem is, and the more innovative solution you have for the problem in a very big market, this is the ultimate recipe to think about an idea, a tech idea. Um, it can be in different markets, but when I take it back to the market we're playing in right now, I think the fact that the vast majority of the players in the industry 7 or 10 years ago were legacy platform that were designed and built before the new generation was even born,
Yeah.
gave me the belief that this is a fantastic place to try, and also to see to come up with a very different approach. So I think our approach is completely different than the legacy players. Instead of building yet another system of record that processes pay slips for employees or or time tracking, which that was the mindset for almost every vendor. We came up with a very innovative approach, which we called system of engagement. So a how to build a people management platform that can be easily used by employees and line managers
Yeah.
and C level, and of course HR and finance, so they can do their job in a modern way.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. I wanted to ask you about one of the big trends that we're seeing in the business world now to get your thoughts on that, and that is quiet quitting. We've been hearing a lot about that lately. What do you think of quiet quitting?
Yeah, nothing new. If you go 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 5 years ago, you there were always quiet quitters in organizations. Today it's a buzzword, and people talk about it, but I think nothing really changed.
Yeah.
I think that I think it's a wake up call for both sides, for the employers and for the employees and their managers, of course, in between. As an employee, I think the question is: do you really want to spend your life, or do you really want to spend your next 12 months in a company that you feel a quitter? Life is short.
Yeah.
There are so many opportunities out there. Enjoy your journey. Make sure that you are surrounded by great people, great culture, and choose other options versus staying quietly and be considered as a quitter. This
Yeah.
is for the employees. I
Yeah.
think for the employers, again, it's a wake up call, because if there are so many quiet quitters in your organization, so you're probably doing something wrong. Maybe your culture is not there yet. Maybe the managers you've hired are not doing their job. So for me, it's a kind of a lakmus paper for the labor industry to say this is this is a reflection of what's happening, and if this is real and it's worse than before, then people need to pay attention. Either you're an employee or you're a manager in the business.
Yeah. It's funny because quiet quitting, but I also think there's kind of, and I don't know what I would call it. The first phrase that came to mind is like the quiet beatdown. And that is this idea that there are some leaders out there, not all, but there are some leaders out there who quietly beat down their employees to the point where they turn into quiet quitters. And I actually remember a story of my mom. I think I've shared this a few months ago on the show. My mom used to work for an insurance company in Los Angeles, and she worked there for many, many years. And it got to a point where at some point she would just come home from work crying each day. And then my dad was like, "What the hell is going on? Like, no job is worth you coming home from work every day and being so upset that you're crying." So she ended up becoming a marriage and family therapist, creating a whole career, a different career. But during that time, she wasn't quietly quitting. Like, she was working hard, she was putting in the time, she was putting in the hours, but she was being beat down. So there is this quiet quitting of employees who are disengaged and they just do the bare minimum. But there are also employees out there, like my mom was, where they are trying to do their best and they're putting in the extra time and hours, and the leaders still beat them down. And that's something that we also don't talk about quite enough. So that's kind of the quiet beat down that that came to mind for me. I don't know if you've seen that at all.
Yeah, it's a great example, but I think the future of work or modern businesses, especially the ones that care, they are all relying on people,
Yeah.
is that you have to put your people first. And it's not just a statement. You have to walk the talk. You have to really have the right teams and the right in management education on how to do it. So if if somebody's going on crying because the manager is beating them down, this is a toxic
Yeah.
environment that managers, HR, C-level, CEO, they have to know about it, either by surveys, by interacting with people. I cannot imagine somebody in my organization that is suffering without knowing about it. Either colleagues sharing about this, or unless you are in an unpleasant situation that something bad happened. It can be around health,
Mm.
or you supporting your parents. But even in those cases, you have to pay attention to the people well-being.
Yeah.
And if you don't, then this is your number one asset. You cannot scale, you cannot grow, you cannot make an impact on a business without your people, and you have to invest in
Mm.
them. And from our perspective, it's not only about investing. You should find the right digital platform to manage them.
Yeah.
So Bob was founded basically to say there is alternative to the a old school platform that didn't put the people first. The system of engagement, it's all about the employee engagement with the platform, as you do as consumer.
So, what does actually putting people first mean? And you mentioned kind of from a technology perspective what that looks like, but I'm also curious just from a leadership perspective, health and well-being perspective. You mentioned you have, I think, 700 employees. So, how do you put people first? Any examples or stories that maybe other people can apply in their companies?
Yes. First of all, it's a journey. It's not that you click a button and all of a sudden thing changes. You need to be aware of it. You need to make a decision that is important for you as a CEO, and then you propagate the message to your direct reports. The importance of culture, the importance of DNA, and I'll give you some examples. Everybody's talking about work-life balance.
Yeah.
We said, let's take a look around it in a different way. So it's not work and then life. We said first life and then work, and then how you balance between them. What does it mean? It means flexibilities. So since COVID until now, we allow our people to sorry to choose whether they want to work from home, whether they want to work from the office, or we have a policy work from anywhere. If you want to travel for 2 months and work from another city and you can be productive, you can do it. Being putting your people first is giving them the flexibility, and make sure that the organization support those flexibilities. Number two is transparency. When I'm doing my all hands meeting with my team, all of them, 700 people, I share the same slides and I share the same information I'm sharing with my board.
Oh.
I would say 99.9. They know exactly what's happening in the business. They can register to Slack channels and follow every progress on the business. They can follow any the product roadmap pipeline. So everything is available and accessible, but then you need to educate them. What does it mean? I mean, how you measure the business KPIs, how you really understand them. So, and transparency. And then the third one is trust. It's all about trust. You cannot roll out a policy of work remotely if there is no trust between the company and the people, and vice versa. By the way, it's not one direction. So as long as you have a full trust in your people, and you are 100% transparent with them, and you pay attention to teamwork, and you understand how to translate the challenges they face on a daily basis, and make them flexible for them, then this is enough, I think, example for putting people first. It's not about parties. It's not about free pizza in the afternoon. It's not about other areas. We just launched a new parental leave policy. We allow a parents to take extra a leave time to spend more time with the new family members.
Yeah.
So I think it's a set of areas that you need to map, you need to pay attention to, you need to invest, you need to communicate to the team. And I think if you do it and you 100% believe in it and your heart is with this, then people will get it. You cannot, I mean, you can free, you can fool people sometimes. You cannot fool the people all the time, as Bob Marley said.
Yeah. So the three elements were trust, transparency, and what was the third one?
Teamwork.
Teamwork.
Triple T.
Teamwork. Okay, the three T's. So let's talk about those in a little bit more detail. Maybe we can start with trust. Trust is, I guess it's a lot easier said than done, right? Because 700 people, you have to make sure that it's not just you creating trust, but the people that you hire, you bring in. So what do you do to create trust with your team, and how do you teach your leaders and the people that you're hiring to create trust? Like, what does that mean? What does that look like?
Yeah, first of all, you need to, as a CEO, as a C-level CHRO, you need to set the tone. You need to agree about the direction, and then I cannot control trust between the organization and one of the employees in customer success or in product management or in sales, because I have no a daily interaction with them, right?
Yeah.
But it is between me and my direct reports. You have to lead by example. When you talk about trust, you need to show that you trust them and you expect them to do the same with their direct reports. And then you continue one level below. And then you want to make sure that this message propagates and gets to the right people. When you get together with people, when you are doing your all hands meeting, you need to show people that there is a trust between the company. For example, when I'm presenting my numbers in front of my team, I trust that they will keep it internally and they will not share it with outsiders. Can I control it? No, but I'm doing it. And while I'm doing it, people see that I trust them.
Yeah.
By the way, trust always comes with transparency together, because if you are transparent and there is no hidden agenda, then it's easier for you to really stand behind trust. And by the way, we we looked and I think we did several surveys a year ago. There is a direct correlation between a culture that there is no transparency and politics. And the more transparent you are dramatically reducing the politics, because everything is known
Yeah.
and there's a trust between people. So you don't need to guess. You don't need to do manipulation to get to know more, or to control information that you don't want to share with others. It
Has
makes culture easier.
Has anybody ever betrayed your trust? So, 700 people, it's a lot of people, right? I mean, what happens if you do share something and somebody on your team leaks it to somebody else, they share it, they violate that trust? It's very easy as a leader to say, well, I'm never going to do that again. So what do you do? Has that ever happened to you, first of all?
First of all, my assumption that it will be leaked, and I'm taking a risk.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there are people that they either don't know how to interpret trust, but I think the teams, the people around them, they will help them digest themselves to the right direction. So it's not about sharing piece of information from an all hands. This is for me. This is not important. It's all about the trust with my peers, with my managers. It's for me as individual to know the strategy of the company. So I think we spoke before, and I mentioned that strategic direction we have as a business, the triple M, the three M's, the focus of the business. We go after mid-sized businesses, modern businesses, and multinational. So if it's clear for everybody what's the company's direction, and you keep talking about it, they will realize what exactly you mean.
Hmm.
So trust is part of culture. You cannot say, I believe in trust, and it's not part of your values,
Yeah.
or it's not part of, and you are not leading by example.
A quick shout out to our sponsor for this episode, HiBob. HiBob is on a mission to transform the way organization people operate in the new world of work. From creating great employee experiences to bridging the gap with multinational companies, look to HiBob to help create the future of work in your company. Check out a free guide that they just released, which covers using the right technology, inclusivity, and modern HR tools. You can get access to this guide at hibob.com/FOW. Again, that's www.hibob.com/FOW. And that happens a lot, actually. I mean, trust is a value for a lot of organizations, but it's just kind of like a word on paper, right? And nobody does anything more with it. But I'm really interested in what happens, and I'm sure, I mean, this happens to everybody, right? When your trust gets betrayed. So you share something and somebody does something that they're not supposed to do. Has that ever happened to you, and what do you do when that does happen?
In the past, I don't know, 4 years, 3 years, I don't remember even one incident
Wow.
like this that came to my attention. Um, and if let's say we had a case, then I would be very curious to understand why.
Yeah. Hmm. So has it, you
Listen,
can't even think of it.
well, but think about your relationship with your wife.
Yeah.
Think about the relationship between you and your brothers and sisters, right? There's a set of rules uh, of emotions, thoughts, beliefs between people, right? And if you work hard and you try to make sure that you bring this up, and it is important for you and the managers and the organization, and you invest in it, I don't see a reason why it cannot be as
Hmm.
relationship we know from our families. I hate to call organization families. I don't believe they are families. I call it a village, and in a village, people rely on each other, to be well protected, to share their values, to
Yeah.
celebrate, to support each other. I think this is it, and I think if you do it right and you mean to do it, and you lead by example, it happens.
Well, some people might be watching or listening to this and saying, well, it's easy when you're the CEO, right? I mean, and trust is going down. But what if you're not the CEO and you're an entry level employee, you're a mid level leader, and you're trying to trust your leader? And you're kind of skeptical because maybe you've had bad experiences in the past because, trust has to flow both ways. And I feel like trust is much easier to flow down because when you are in a position of power and somebody betrays your trust, you have action that you can take. But if trust is flowing up and somebody betrays your trust, you don't really have much action or recourse, right? Because they are, quote unquote, more powerful than you. They can fire you. So what can you do if you're not an executive or a senior leader and you want to create trust with somebody above you on that corporate pyramid?
So first of all, this is why managers are managers.
Yeah.
They were chosen to be managers, to manage people, and part of people management is the ability to manage and to have a trust relationship with the people and to empower them. We don't need to spend too much time on it. So from the organization perspective, it's probably the wrong manager. If somebody, if not one individual, but if it's a repeated pattern
Yeah.
in a team or department, something is wrong with the managers. It's their responsibilities. And by the way, not only the line managers, all the management chain all the way up are, it's their responsibility to make it happen. If I'm an employee and I feel that I feel the mistrust, then if I was this specific employee, I would go and open it up with my manager. There's enough forums. It can be,
Yeah.
the one-on-ones, the weekly, the monthly check-ins, the quarterly review, or what. There's enough examples for people to share their thoughts or concerns with their managers. And by the way, if they can't, they are probably not working for the right company. They should look for something else.
Yeah. So speak up, and if you don't feel like you're in a company where you can speak up, you get out.
Yeah, life is short.
Yeah.
Either if you end up spending weeks with your stomach full of concerns and regrets, and you feel um, that nobody is listening to you, and you are frustrated, then wake up. This is not the right place for you. Look for an alternative.
Yeah. Well, I did. I've experienced that, so I know what that's like. I had a couple of jobs earlier on in my career where I would literally my alarm clock would wake up at like 6 in the morning, and I would get the butterflies in my stomach of like, oh my god, I got to go into work. So I know, I know very well what that feeling is like, and it's not a fun feeling to have.
But Jacob, there are modern HR platforms. They have the digital tools to help managers and departments and organizations to do a much better job
Yeah.
on the exact situation you just mentioned. It can be around surveys. It's streamlining processes of checking in with your peers and with your direct reports and with your managers. You don't need to guess how to do it.
Yeah.
There are platforms that can help you be a better manager.
But isn't there still value for kind of the in-person relationship too? Because sometimes what I feel like a lot of leaders do is they use technology as a way to create space between themselves and their teams. And technology, of course, is always great, but there's still some value to seeing your leader, for them coming over to you and saying, "Thank you, I appreciate your hard work," or stuff. Do you still see value for the in-person stuff?
Absolutely. I think we learned a few things with the pandemic. Number one, that working remotely is doable and can be productive. But I think, and there are tons of surveys on that. I think the ultimate a combination is hybrid. You want to keep the flexibility to work from home and not to commute, I don't know, 2 hours a day, and to spend more time with your family or your friends at home, and while you are productive and doing your job. But then on the other hand, you want to engage with your friends, with your people at work. So I think today the ultimate combination is hybrid. In my company and the vast majority of our clients, we have 3,000 customers. The vast majority are adopting the hybrid combination. It's about 3 days in the office and 2 days more flexible. Some of you'll find employees coming every day because they can't find themselves working from home, and you can find employees that if it's up to them, they would rather come to the office once a month or once a
Yeah.
week because it's easier for them. But I think the human interaction is mandatory, and it's hard to be completely remote. But on the other hand, I think the past 2 years already proven that there is no turning back.
Yep.
Flexibility is here to stay.
What do you say to some of those? Because there are a lot of stories that are appearing lately. Companies like Goldman Sachs, Tesla, who are basically saying you have to get back into the office or get out. Like come back to work full time, or there's no place for you working here. And it feels like that trend is picking up a little bit, and more CEOs are saying that's enough already. Like, you can't work here and never show your face. Get back into the office. What do you say to those leaders?
I think forcing your people to be 5 days a week, you are shooting your leg. Period.
Hmm.
This is no longer a valid option. You will end up finding that you cannot retain your people, your especially the best ones, and it will be impossible for you to hire the right talent. I think job flexibility is not a perk. It's not kind of nice to have.
Yeah.
It's mandatory. This is the future, and organizations or managers that don't get it, no matter what is the excuse. I'm not talking about I don't know hospitality or
Yeah. Yeah.
a rostering that you have to. I'm talking about the examples you gave. I think there are. I understand why they want to do it, but I think there are. It's it's against them. It's bigger than the examples you gave with Tesla and Apple. And down the road, the future of work will be hybrid
Hmm.
combination of working from home and working from office.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, the other thing that we've been seeing an interesting trend in is this theme of monitoring employees. Keeping track of everything that they're doing and kind of spying on them. I have a feeling I know where you stand on that, but I'm curious to hear your thoughts on monitoring employees.
It's insane.
Yeah.
Seriously. I'm going back to trust. Why do you need to to follow your people and to see if there is a trust? There's a trust. You can argue, 700 employees is not like running a business of 10,000 employees. Fine. I think when we get to 10,000 employees, I hope that we still find a way to nurture trust, and to me, I don't think we'll ever use this a kind of monitoring to our people. If you have an issue with a individual, if you have an issue with a department or team or something, then something is wrong.
Hmm.
Go ahead and fix it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. If you have to follow your people, there's clearly a trust issue there that needs to be fixed. One of the other things that I'm really interested in is, do you think that the power balance has shifted too much in the hands of employees? Because if you were to look back over the past, 5, 10 years, the companies had all the power, right? Well, they tell you when to work, where to work, how to work, and the companies had so much power. And now it feels like all the power is in the hands of the employees. And some leaders might feel that they have too much power now, right? They're asking for more money than is realistic. Everybody wants equity in the company. People don't even want to show up to the office anymore. Do employees have too much power, and how do you balance that relationship between the power that employees have versus what you can realistically do and offer, as a leader?
Yeah, it's a typical pendulum.
Yeah,
You don't need to be worried too much about the extreme scenarios, because when it gets to the extreme, then it balances again. Look at the history. So I'm less concerned about who has the power, people or organization and salaries. We are facing a very unique era. The unemployment is ridiculously low.
yeah,
And today there are thousands of, tens of thousands of open positions in tech that will be filled tomorrow if there is an available people. So, but I think it's not about the power. It's about understanding that I think the future of work is about taking care of your people,
yeah,
and about their well-being, and about the fact that you need to manage and balance between life and work, so they will not be burned out and they will stay with you and they be productive. I think the new generation of employees, if it's up to them, they will not move to another company if the company treat them very well. And
mm,
it's not only about salary. I think salary is probably number five
yeah,
in the wish list. It's about am I being seen by my manager?
Yep.
Can I develop myself? Am I surrounded by smart people and managers that can empower me? I mean, these are more important than salaries.
Yeah.
And if you invest in those areas, then it's easier to retain them. At the end of the day, modern businesses, they have to retain their talent and to attract new one.
Yep.
If
Couldn't.
there is no talent, they cannot grow.
Yeah, yeah, couldn't agree more. I know one of the other things that you're really big on is this notion of purpose and values. And I thought we could start with maybe your personal purpose, your personal values. So not from a corporate perspective, but from you, Ronnie, as a leader, as an individual. What are your personal values and purpose?
Yeah, obviously, I'm almost 57 years old, so it is a journey. And I'm sure that my perspective today is completely different than it was 10 years ago or
Yep.
20 years ago. But I think today, um, at least from my perspective, I want to be a great leader to my people. I want to make sure that I listen to them because they follow me. I want to make sure that I I trust them and they trust me, and also to balance between a business and the purpose of business. So sometimes people get confused between work and social club because it's great to have fun, but at the end of the day, we need to roll out new products or sell or support customers. So as long as you help people balance between the two of them, but it's not one way or the other, it's something that I believe in. I believe in building the exceptional. It's right for me as an individual. To me as an individual, good is not enough. And being exceptional is something that drives me. And I would like to. I want to say that my company, as a company, is building the exceptional. I want to make sure that the team and the team members, when they think about what they do in the company, they're trying to build the exceptionals. Whether it's service or product. Um, I believe in being humble and not to be, not a big ego, and be passionate about what you do and compassionate about people around you. I believe in leading by example as an individual, um, and I believe in balancing between life and work for myself.
Yeah.
You have family, you have hobbies, you have other stuff, um, and I like to see myself as a people person.
Yep. Hmm. You mentioned ego. And I think a lot of leaders struggle with this, right? The more senior you become in a company, the more responsibility you get, the more salary you get, the more power you get. And sometimes it's very easy to let that ego take over and bad things start to happen. What do you do to keep your ego in check and to make sure that you stay grounded and present with your people?
Everything starts with the fact that we are all humans. It doesn't matter if you are a prime minister or a president or a CEO or an employee or a father or a mother. We are all human beings, and we should treat each other accordingly. I think ego comes from self confidence. The more confident you are and you believe in yourself, and believing in yourself is not only what you can do, but also on your limitations, on the stuff that you cannot do, because it's harder for you or you don't have those characteristics as part of your personality. And it's about balancing between the ups and downs. So when thing goes well, it's not that you are a magician, and the other way around. When something goes wrong, and you are facing challenges, it's not the end of the world.
Yeah.
Just um, when it's hard, just keep going. So balancing is important, because if you are balanced and you understand your limitations and you understand the purpose of your role as a CEO or as a team leader, it's easier for you to control your ego.
So self-confidence is good, right?
It's important.
Yeah. But I guess balancing self-confidence and arrogance, the arrogance piece is kind of the danger, right?
Yeah, self-confidence means that you understand that you know your power, your superpowers, and you know your limitations.
Yeah.
And we all have limitations. We all have areas that we are weaker than others. And for example, if you're a CEO of a business, you have to surround yourself by great people around you, because you cannot be great in engineering and great in product and great in sales and great in human capital or whatever, right? Even though you think you can.
Yeah.
But if you surround yourself by smart people that they can bring their they can contribute to the overall efforts, you do it because your ego allows you to listen to others. Because if you think you have all the answers for all the questions, this is where you lose control, and you will 100% miss your northern star, whatever you do,
Yeah. Yeah.
as a business or as an individual.
Well, last question for you before we wrap up. And that is around leading during times of uncertainty. And I think a lot of not just CEOs, but team leaders, mid-level senior leaders around the world are trying to figure out how do we lead when we don't know what's happening tomorrow, right? We it's like you're walking through fog and you can't see the next step that you need to take, and somehow you're supposed to take that next step and convince everybody to take that step with you. Any advice for leaders out there on how to lead during times of turbulence and uncertainty like the ones we're in now?
Absolutely. Um, I think the first and the most immediate things to do is to pause, is to stop, and reanalyze your assumptions about everything.
Hmm.
Validate if your plans are achievable or they are completely in the wrong direction. So pausing, reevaluating, understanding everything as much as you can, everything around you, and then get the people around you to understand with you the new way you read the map, which is different than before. And then once you have a clear understanding of how the environment around you looks like and what is the new map you need to use, then you come up with a plan and you go to the fundamentals, to the very basic stuff at the beginning. So I'll give an example. Go back and to the way you used to do sales before. The simplest way. Go back to the most important things that you have to have. Before you spend time on projects that you thought can be opportunistic for your business. And when you complete this phase of evaluation, you share it with your team members, and you make sure that they all understand the process you went through as individual, as a CEO, and they really understand the new direction, and then you help them understand what they need to do. Once they know what to do, your direct reports, your C level, then you need to make sure that they know how to translate this exercise to their direct reports, and how the new direction, the new objectives, the new KPIs are being translated differently than before because of the uncertainty
Yeah.
to the people, and then how you get the feedback back from the team, that they really know where we are heading to. And then you have to pause again and again and again, and to make sure that you are still reading the map correctly, because you may lost direction because of the uncertainty. So unlike when everything goes well, look at 2021, you can drive your car and put it on cruising mode, right?
Yep.
Gets all the way from A to B. When you get to uncertainty, you need to use your manual gear, hold the stick in your hand, and listen to the voice of the engine. And based on the voice of the engine, you can do if you need to switch gear or to lower the gears. So you have to control the drive with your hands manually
I like that
until
analogy.
you get through the foggy climate around you.
Yeah, I like that analogy. That's a good analogy. Well, I think that's a perfect way to wrap up. Why don't you let people know where can they go to learn more about you and HiBob? Anything that you want to mention for people to check out?
Yeah, so we are, first of all, we are hiring people. So we look at our open positions on LinkedIn and in our website, www.hibob.com, hibob.com.
Pretty easy
Uh,
URL to remember.
yeah. Secondly, if you are a leader in a business, and with a few dozens of employees, from I don't know 50 all the way up to a few thousands of employees, and you're looking for an amazing people management platform, Bob is a fantastic one, and it's easy to use. It's very intuitive. It was built for modern businesses, global businesses, and mid-sized businesses, and we'll be more than happy to talk more about the platform and the benefits. Most of your questions in this great interview were related to culture
Yeah,
and to companies' DNA and managers and management styles. Bob was built exactly to support those agendas in a very innovative way. A fantastic experience and a great digital tools to use.
I love it. Well, Ronnie, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to share your insights. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Jacob. It was a great conversation. I enjoyed it.
Yes, me too. And thanks everyone again for tuning in. My guest again, Ronni Zehavi, co-founder and CEO at HiBob. Pretty easy company to find, so I hope you check them out and learn more a little bit about what they do. See you next week. Thanks again for tuning into this week's episode with Ronni Zehavi. Remember, if you subscribe to the show, you're going to get early access to new episodes, you'll get ad-free listening, and access to bonus episodes where my guests, which are CEOs, business leaders, and the world's top authors, will share action items that you can apply inside of your career and in your personal life as well. The cost is just $4.99 a month, or if you want to save a little bit of money, you can subscribe for the whole year at just $49.99. I hope you decide to subscribe and support the show.